I'm going to try to put your poem and author in the chat line as you say it. So forgive me if I spell something wrong.
Hi, everybody. I am Lori Buckholz. I'm a librarian at the North County campus. It's nice to see you all here. Welcome to our virtual poetry reading on isolation, connection, and hope. And we have 10 or 11 people pre-signed up to read, and I know 3 of you will have to leave early, so you asked to be one of the first 3 readers. So we have Marcia and Paul and Bailey, and then from there on I'll just give a list of who's signed up to read, and we'll just go in a volunteer basis. When you start to read, feel free to introduce the poem, tell why you chose it, who wrote it, those kinds of details. So Marcia, do you want to take it from here?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you. Gosh, I thought of so many things I wanted to say about why I picked this poem, but I don't want to use up the whole half hour that I can be here. Let me thank you for listening, and to say that this is a poem that is about the connectedness of us all, and it's provable. You can prove this fact through the magic of words. It's an Inuit poem, it's an anonymous author, and it's based on one of their cosmology myths, or cosmology beliefs, I guess I should say. It's called Magic Words. In the very earliest time, when both people and animals lived on Earth, a person could become an animal if he wanted to, and an animal could become a human being. Sometimes they were people and sometimes animals, and there was no difference. All spoke the same language. That was the time when words were like magic. The human mind had mysterious powers. A word spoken by chance might have strange consequences. It would suddenly come alive, and what people wanted to happen could happen. All you had to do was say it. Nobody could explain this. That's the way it was. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, and we encourage you to use reactions if you want to on the bottom of the screen or in chat to respond to the poems as they're read. And Paul, you're up next.
Very well. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, very good. Thank you. I've chosen Good Bones by Maggie Smith. My name's Paul, and I'm a student at Cuesta, and I work at the circulation desk in the library when there is such a thing. I'll begin. Good Bones by Maggie Smith. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and it's shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible, and for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. And that's the end. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm sorry I'm in the middle of a geology test right now, so I have to go. But thanks for organizing this, and please count me in next time any way I can be useful. Bye, everyone. Thank you again.
Thank you, Paul. Bailey, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for organizing this lovely gathering. I think it's the best Zoom I've had all semester. Well, not the best, but one of the best. The poem I'm going to read is from Derek Walcott, who's a Caribbean poet, and the name of his poem is Love After Love. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit, stay, eat. You will lose again, you will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life.
Thank you. So we have a list. I'll just read to you the total list I have so far of people who'd like to read. Heidi, Crystal, Diane, Mark, Kathy, Sharon, Denise, and Susan. And I brought a couple poems if we have extra time. Is there anybody else who'd like to be added to the list? We can also just kind of be spontaneous as we go along.
You know, Lori too, if they could be sure to give us their name and what their affiliation with Cuesta is, as well as the name of the poem and why they chose it. That would be fun, I think.
Great idea. Okay, so who'd like to go next, or should I just call on people? What's your preference?
I'll go ahead and go.
Great.
All right, so this is Sharon. I'm a librarian at Cuesta. I chose this because I heard it on NPR, and Kwame Alexander is the poet in residence for NPR, and he pointed to Nancy Cross Dunham's poem called What I'm Learning About Grief, and asked that people submit poems that start with that line. And what I really appreciated about these poems, this crowdsourced poem, he took lines from everybody's poems and combined them into one, was that it's really showing how people are responding and capturing the way that we're coping with the uncertainty and crisis of what's going on right now. So it's called If the Trees Can Keep Dancing, So Can I. What I'm learning about grief is that it sits in the space between laughs, comes in the dark, steals the warmth from the bed covers, threads sleep with thin tendrils, and is a hauntingly familiar song, yet I can't remember the words. What I'm learning about grief is that it rolls like a heavy mist, settles into the crevices and lingers on the skin, visits, then visits again, lurking under my chair, and when I'm not watching, reaches out her tiny claws and bats my ankle. What I'm learning about grief is that it is a language. Suffering is its own speech. It will not go away just because you won't look it in the eye. This pandemic, this tragedy, this fulcrum of life is a shovel, unearthing secrets we wish would stay buried. I learn that I am ashamed I love solitude. Hard times call for soft people. There is softness in stillness, in staying home, in distractions deleted, in a togetherness that stretches great distances. What I'm learning about grief is not found in mint leaves floating in a glass of tears boiled thrice over. It is an acquired taste which we never crave. It's like nachos, staying up late, watching Scandinavian murder shows, sleeping in, and eating cake for breakfast. It drips like water, it gets in everywhere, through the small unseen fissures in the ceiling. You can ignore it like dust, just keep yourself too busy with laundry and living. What I'm learning about grief, I learned a long time ago. Knead grief as you would bread. Weave grief as you would thread. There's no vaccine against it. We can't develop antibodies against it. It is something I have and something you have. But in these times, it is something we have. What I'm learning about grief is to acknowledge its presence, its many forms and guises, then to use it while reaching out, connected to everyone who is braving this same storm. What I'm learning about grief is that it is still learning about me, learning that I am strong and resilient, and if the trees can keep dancing, so can I. And so that's that crowdsourced poem from the NPR community. So
Thank you.
Mhm.
Would a volunteer like to go next, or should I just start calling people from the list? Kathy, go ahead.
I'm Kathy Myers, and I'm a retired ESL instructor from Cuesta, but I'm still actively involved with Book of the Year. And the poem is entitled "It Feels the Way It Feels," and it's from a collection called Empty Bottles Full of Stories. And the author is Robert Drake. And I chose this one because I really like the title. It feels the way it feels, and each of us is having our own experience right now. And it also touches deeply on isolation and hurt. And I'm in my car, as I said, and holding up the book and holding up my phone, so it may be a little awkward. It hurts. Of course it does, because we were made to hurt, to feel, to try to understand, even when we know we cannot. It hurts. Of course it does. And at times we won't know what to say, but we will try, even if the words are hard to project. It hurts. Of course it does, to watch you, the people we care about, go through hell and not having the power to heal them the way we should. It hurts. Of course it does, to breathe memories, the ones that take you back to a place when everything made sense, where the fire of pain was smaller than it is now. It hurts. Of course it does, as it always does, when love isn't enough, strong enough to save the ones you need. It hurts. Of course it does. The solitude, the ache, the longing to be understood, and the craving of human interaction, of touch, of laughter, and watching it slip before our naked eyes. My dear, it hurts. All of it. Of course it does. And the wounds are deep enough. They always are. And they will always hurt a little more than before. My dear, it hurts. Believe that you cannot outrun this one. Abandon this. Destroy this pool of feelings. Understand how pain is the curse that will tear you apart, but also the blessing that will eventually bring us all closer together. Understand that sometimes life isn't beautiful, that sometimes life is hell, but we'd rather feel the chaos than feel nothing at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
You might just have to call on people.
Oh, Susan, great.
Denise, could you read that poem in Spanish? I chose two short companion pieces. Antonio Machado is a Spanish poet, and this is his book, Times Alone. And there's a mention of dreams in this, and I just feel so, I feel it's so important that young people right now keep their dreams alive. So that's why I chose this one. And then I've got a companion piece by Robert Bly, who translated Antonio Machado. So I asked Denise if she would read this little poem in Spanish first, and then Bly translated it to English.
Okay, and please excuse my weak accent. And there's no title to this one. Y podrás conocerte, recordando del pasado, soñar los turbios lienzos en este día triste, en que caminas con los ojos abiertos. De toda la memoria, solo vale el don preclaro de evocar los sueños. Okay, Susan?
You can know yourself if you bring up those cloudy canvases from your dreams. Today, this day, when you walk awake, open-eyed. Memory is valuable for one thing, astonishing. It brings dreams back. And then from Robert Bly's book, Morning Poems, he's one of my favorite poets, and morning is a very helpful time for me. So this poem is called For Ruth. There's a graceful way of doing things. Birch branches curve slightly upward, or the wind brings a few snowflakes down and then joins the night. Or you leave me a sprig of chervil and no more. Each morning we have this new chance. We can walk a few steps behind the others down the mountain. We can enter a conversation as if we were blessed, not insisting on our old way of gaining pity. There's a way you have of knowing what another may need ahead of time, before the party begins, as smoke sometimes disappears downward among branches. And I've learned from you this new way of letting a poem be. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we'll launch into our list. Heidi, you are at the top.
My almost 13-year-old son just realized he was on camera with his shirt off, so he just dodged out the other direction. Can you guys hear me okay? I saw some laughter. Okay. And my daughter is here too, so and she's 11. This is Maggie. Hello. And that's Jack. And so the poem doesn't have a title. I wrote it, and it's about right now. Okay. So, musings amid my four walls. Our work began out of urgency, to move quickly, stripped our offices bare, not knowing when we would return there. At home we made our camp, carved out spaces in the cracks of our lives to make room for work, for learning and growth. Our children play, they fight, and are losing their minds, while we make the most of these new ways, new kinds of relationships, foods, conversation, waves of hesitation every time you step outside. I fought these rules, the confinement orders, for as long as I could. Shortly after spring had broken, I was reminded, a token of love and appreciation for the work I still have the honor and privilege to do, to collaborate with my colleagues, to serve our students. That is what they deserve. Our thoughts, our care, our concern, and our listening ears. And in return, their triumphs, their victories, their struggles and success stories. Most importantly, their trust and mutual respect. For we are doing our best, especially those who are here to change the world through learning and growth. Our students who have chosen to do so with us. Together, we will make it on the other side of this crazy time. I am grateful, you see, because my students are essential to me.
Powerful.
And I'm a counselor. I don't think I mentioned that at Cuesta.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you can go. Ooh, ooh.
Crystal, you're up next, and then Diane, and then Mark.
All right, hi everybody. My name is Crystal and I'm a student at Cuesta. I'm actually Professor Pachel's student currently. I have 2 short poems. The first one is called The Joy of Seclusion, and we actually wrote this for class. Gamers aren't alone online in dark rooms at 3 a.m. Mechanics with their tools, rusty cars their company, are happy unattended. Pleasant are dusty corners for companionless bookworms, and an empty beach is bliss to dawn patrolling surfers, because crowds don't appeal to introverted people. Stay at home order or not, to be alone is bliss, and canceled plans are best. That's the first one. Thank you. And the second one is titled, What a Strange Time in 2020. Okay. I never thought I'd wear a mask to make a bank withdrawal or wipe myself with leaves because TP is gone. But here I am with leaf in hand and Lysol at the ready. I've washed my hands now for an hour and checked the stats online. I'm standing far away and queuing Costco lines. Amazon has filled my porch with everything I need. You bet I'm watching Tiger King and think she killed her hubby. Gas is down $1, but I haven't gotten paid. Roads are free and clear, but CHP works anyway. Alcohol's worth more than gold. I'd sell it for spaghetti. Good thing they blocked beach parking lots and shut down all the stores. But I'm standing on the shore and no one here is listening. I have Zoom class in a few, but before I pour a glass and go, I must go check my sourdough.
Thank you. Diane, you're next.
Okay, hi. My name is Diane Poolgate, and I'm an instructional aide up in the North County campus, specializing in math. And I chose for my poem to read, I chose Robert Frost's Mending Wall, because, I don't know, I think because it says to me how it's not in our nature to be isolated and be have barriers in between us. And I don't know, I thought it spoke to me in that way. So something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even 2 can pass abreast. The work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair where they would have left not 1 stone on a stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made, but it's spring mending time, we find them there. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go, to each the boulders that have fallen to each, and some are loaves and some so nearly balls we have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear our fingers rough with handling them. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game, one on a side, it comes to little more. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out and to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there, bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, as it seems to me, not of woods only in the shade of trees. He will not go behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well, he says again, Good fences make good neighbors.
Thank you. Next we have Mark, and then Christina, and then Denise.
This is a poem that in some ways echoes what Crystal was saying, that isolation isn't necessarily a negative. It's by Lawrence Raab, R-A-A-B. It's called Happiness. I can remember only once feeling perfectly happy. I was 18, a freshman at college. It was October, and I was sitting on the lawn behind my dormitory, leaning against a tree, reading a book. It must have been Sunday. Leaves covered the grass, though the oaks and maples were still full of color, and the sky was that bright and absolute blue you see in photographs of peaceful country scenes. The musty broken smell of autumn floated on the air, that scent like a taste, like the idea of change. People walked past on their way to the library, others slept in the sun or read their books. Certainly I had enough to worry about. I'd made no friends, I was not in love, didn't like my classes. But I felt just then at ease, and then lazily, quite gradually, completely happy, as if that afternoon might continue indefinitely and lead seamlessly into everything that was going to be possible for me, which I would one day call my life. No matter what I thought about it, this would happen, and I did not have to think about it. I imagined staying until dark when someone might come in to ask what was wrong, yet there was nothing I needed to say, since I had no reason for feeling what I felt, since the landscape was like a beautiful picture of where I was. And so, after a few hours, I got up without regret and went back to my room. This happened, although that doesn't matter to you, who know about the truth of poems, how I can't convince you by insisting on the real, can't persuade you by claiming this is I or was. And yet, I am not trying to persuade you of anything. There is no conclusion, no story to conclude. And how poor, after all, how familiar the details seem, without excitement or surprise. But I never felt that way again, nor do I expect to feel that way again. So thoughtless and solitary, so unaccountably happy.
Thank you. Christina, you're up.
I'm working in the library right now. Oh, okay. I'm moving. She's in a Zoom meeting too now. Okay. Sorry. So, my name is Christina Schullers. I work in the financial aid department, but I'm also a library tech here currently because of COVID. So I, even though I'm working here on campus, I have to say it does feel pretty lonely. I think I got used to seeing all your faces all the time. That in my head, we're all distant friends, and now I don't get to see my friends as often, so it's been rough. The person that wrote these poems, she didn't title any of them, but she is actually in Europe. And for her, her struggle has been, you know, they were in isolation a little bit ahead of us. And I didn't copy her name on these, so I'm really sorry about that. But her first name is Ellie. So the first poem, it says, "May peace fall like rain and seep deep into your bones. May hope drown your doubt and your fear. May your veins be filled with courage as you face all these unknowns. And may comfort and rest find you here." And then the second poem I have is, "If you can't face looking up today, not knowing what's ahead, drop your gaze and watch your feet, taking one more step instead." So those are my poems.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Denise, did you want to go next?
Okay, so I won't be doing the chat. Sharon, you can write something if you want. I didn't have anything that came to mind for this, and this was the topic that the group last time chose, and I must admit I was a little bit but I think it's a good topic. My name is Denise. I'm a librarian at the San Luis campus, and I kind of looked around and I found something in the Charleston Post and Courier newspaper where they had solicited poems by poets in the Charleston, South Carolina area. And there was a group of people who responded, and they named this series Poetry in the Time of Crisis. And this one rang true. It's called Spring Break 2020 by Ed Madden, M-A-D-D-E-N. A couple of vocabulary words that I didn't know: Nandina and Smilex, which are, I guess, weeds or plants. So here we go. I spent the morning hacking back the Nandina, digging out Smilax, pulling weeds, piling it all up on the street for next week's pickup, assuming that still happens. It felt good to do something, anything, with my hands. I looked across the yard at my husband, planting seeds in rows in our little garden: hot peppers, wax beans, sunflower seeds he saved last fall, and moonflower. The peach tree, as tall as me, is blooming. So is the quince, so are the tulips. And there's a dust of pollen sifted across it all. In a month, it will be Easter. But for now, spring break has been extended an extra week because of the pandemic. I wave at a family walking by together, a safe distance away. We'll call our neighbor later, make sure she's okay. A friend said his Christmas cactus is confused and posts a photo of a pot of red blooms, but then adds, aren't we all these days? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's everyone that I had on the list. So let's just open it up to volunteers. Anyone else like to read?
I think Tom wants to read.
Oh yes, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. All right, I'm gonna first read a poem by Walt Whitman, and it's called A Noiseless Patient Spider. A noiseless patient spider, I marked where on a little promontory it stood isolated, marked how to explore the vacant, vast surrounding. It launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And you, O my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you will need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere, O my soul.
Thank you. Did you have another that you wanted to?
I have a couple more. Should I just go all now, I guess? Yes?
It's fine with me.
Okay, this is something I've been working on lately. It's called The Thunderbird and the Phoenix. The spider climbs the old skateboard platform, wood faded and steel pipe edges, forgotten by the skaters. Memories return, recent recollection though they seem so long ago. He was tied into a coarse wooden throne with rough cords of rope, immobilizing wrists, hands, ankle, feet, neck. Even his tongue was held down by a fibrous, chafing piece of line, knotted at the top, pinning tongue down to the mouth's floor. The throne juts from a sheer rocky crag high in the heavens. He becomes aware of giant birds, almost cartoonish in blues and pinks, great wings at rest, yellow-orange beak curved down cruelly. They dwarf his captive figure, seemingly unaware, but they see. Eyes of the hunter, a look so savage in that doll's eye, the predator, pragmatic and natural, so cold, beyond good and evil. Stasis, senses, sparkling, total immobility, a paralysis of tight bindings, no speech accessible, barely breathing, the eye judged, the bound form. He awakes to pain and sensation, still static and fighting, the apparatus in mouth to breathe, light pain whirling vision. An old friend, calm and tender, sits by. On a pad with black Sharpie, the bound figure writes with unsteady hand, what the hell happened? And then, smoking a cigarette, he looks down at the slender white stick in his fingers, the Thunderbird, watermark, freezes his eyes in epochal moment. The small print of the mythic bird blinks him back momentarily to the eyrie of the Thunderbirds. The Sanctum Sanctorum burns to the ground. Flames sear and whoosh, singeing arm, face, legs, forehead, and chest. Would that have not yet appeared, or the adrenaline fortified wounds that have not yet appeared on the adrenaline fortified skin? The flames reflected in a gold charm, a large shamrock with subtle emerald on each leaf. The archives blow around the grounds of Coos Keep in charred pages, a leaf of Nabokov, one of Faulkner, a page of poetry, the Irish hurrah, cloak and dagger comic books and Moon Knight like cheap medieval manuscripts illuminated. The Phoenician woman, ivory pale face, sharp features, raven bobbed hair, stoops over slightly to say the words and gently kiss the patient, a saintly figure preserved in a stained glass window, in a panel in a comic book, or a panel in a comic book. It's not that much longer. The pile of ashes must be sifted through for documentable treasures from the dictionaries of the mind. It smells like the 4th of July out here. It's the young man with the mop of bright orange-red hair. The derelict charred black sticks of the ruins slice the sunset in sections. Pages blow around the back pad and the horizon with ocean. A cartridge-shaped paper drifts up, charred around the edges like ancient lore unearthed. Framed in the burned borders are a title and stages, the Irish, and stanzas, the Irish hurrah. He pins it to the redwood wall in the greenhouse with desk and parchment and laptop and pens and pencils. He pins it to the redwood wall beside the sliding glass door in the greenhouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to read next?
And you know, I know some people have a second one up their sleeve, so.
Susan, that'd be great.
Well, I forgot to say I'm Susan and I work in the library at the beginning, but this is one of my own poems. This is titled In the Fragrance of Lilac. I kneel in my untended yard, weeds grown high above my head like prairie grass. Bare-handed, I pull by the roots, clearing sun-warmed ground and small hidden wildflowers. I listen to the singing birds, feel the slowness of Earth's heartbeat. My neighbor comes to say she is sorry to see me work so hard. You poor woman, your hands. I look at my hands, dirt under the nails, raw, scraped, sore. I cannot tell her, this is how I pray, on my knees, hands in the soil. This is where I know the time of day, by the light, where I can make a garden and find hope in the fragrance of lilac. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Especially if you've been shy and haven't read yet, or just been holding back. I brought a couple, so we haven't had our requisite Mary Oliver for the day, so I'll read that. This is a poem by Mary Oliver called The Turtle. The turtle breaks from the blue-black skin of the water to dig with her ungainly feet a nest. And you think of her patience, her fortitude, her determination to complete what she was born to do. Then you realize a greater thing. She doesn't consider what she was born to do. She's only filled with an old blind wish. It isn't even hers, but came to her in the rain or the soft wind, which is a gate through which her life keeps walking. She can't see herself apart from the rest of the world, or the world from what she must do. Every spring, crawling up the high hill, luminous under the sand that has packed against her skin. She doesn't dream, she knows. She is a part of the pond she lives in. The tall trees are her children. The birds that swim above her are tied to her by an unbreakable string. The end. Thank you. So, someone else? Anyone else? Tom.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, this is much shorter, I promise. It's this is Night Has Come by Friedrich Nietzsche. Try spelling Nietzsche, Denise. Night has come, alas, that I must be light, and thirst for the nocturnal and loneliness. Night has come, now my craving breaks out of me like a well. To speak I crave. Night has come, now all fountains speak more loudly, and my soul too is a fountain. Night has come, now all the songs of lovers awaken, and my soul too is the song of a lover. Thus sang Zarathustra.
Oh, I remember that from high school.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have
Well,
one, Lori, but I'd like to see, maybe some of our students would like to go again, or somebody else read their own. Heidi probably has another one.
I think you're up.
Okay, this is from Pablo Neruda, and it's called Keeping Quiet. And somehow it's familiar to me, but I don't know why. Now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms around so much. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. That sounds like now. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales. And the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. And now I'll count up to 12, and you keep quiet, and I will go.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll read one more. So I wrote it. It's called Not Forever and Not Tomorrow. But I wrote it about 1.5 years ago. But it resonates a little bit, I guess, now. So not forever and not tomorrow. When are we going, my dear one? When will you rip me away from the home I have known, where our children have grown, and where all seeds were sown? Heading south for the winter to that high desert calm, not forever and not tomorrow, where trees all but grow and leaves all but fall, where the quiet gets lonely and the stars surrender to that deep darkness, and the moon plays tricks on your mind like the passage of time. Not forever, not tomorrow. Up a tall mountain where the air is crisp and the wind sends a wisp, will it be among the pines? Or between the vines of our tangled up, mangled up, sweet little life? When will you take me, my dear one? When the kids are both gone, when our dreams are forgotten, when all is said and done, the band no longer plays our song. Not forever, not tomorrow. Will you take me? Don't make me leave here. Not forever, please, not even tomorrow. There you go.
Thank you. Anybody else? Crystal, do you have another one for us?
I don't have another one. Not on this topic.
Go for it.
Oh no, I said I don't.
That's what I thought. Okay. Anybody else?
I bet Mark has one.
Effectively, if I unmute. I don't. I was looking for another one, but it's on, I don't have a physical copy of the book. And I probably can't find it between now and 3:30. So.
Jennifer has her hand up. Is that a I want to read hand up, Jen?
Sorry, yes. Yes. In times of stress, I go back to childhood favorites. And this one's by Shel Silverstein. It's called Hug of War. I will not play tug of war. I'd rather play at Hug of War, where everyone hugs instead of tugs, where everyone giggles and rolls on the rug, where everyone kisses and everyone grins and everyone cuddles and everyone wins. Thank you.
Thank you. Good old Shel Silverstein.
I think Tom's got his hand up.
Yeah, and maybe this one will be a good one to end on too, the theme of it. And it's also maybe what we'll all do after all this madness is over. It's called The Last Invocation, and it's by Walt Whitman. At the last, tenderly, from the walls of the powerful fortressed house, from the clasp of the knitted locks, from the keep of the well-closed doors, let me be wafted. Let me glide noiselessly forth, with the key of softness, unlock the locks, with a whisper, set ope the doors of the soul. Tenderly, be not impatient, strong is your hold, O mortal flesh. strong is your hold, O love. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks to all the readers. Do you have time for another if anyone has been holding back? All right. Denise, can I throw it back to you? How do we wrap it up?
Well, actually, besides saying thanks to everybody and wishing them good luck as they go through the end of the semester and whatever happens next, I was asked today by our boss if we want to do a summer poetry reading, if people are interested. You know, I know people might be doing other things. I don't think anyone has a vacation plan, but I'm totally open to suggestions and topics. So you could let me know now in the chat or email one of us, or just let's unmute and just have a 2-minute discussion about that. Sharon, can you unmute everybody?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think? Want to do this again or busy with other things?
I think sounds great.
Oh, okay. There's a couple.
Fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
How about a theme or a focus, especially those of you that are writing your own, and especially some of our students? Anything come to mind?
I was just thinking the outdoors, just not inside.
Yeah. You have to mention something green or blue.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have a topic or something that might resonate? Susan, you always have ideas.
Well, what came to my mind was in this poem I read, dreams.
Dreams.
It's just so important to still have dreams. You know, I was thinking about students, but even for myself, it's important to keep my dreams despite how much has changed outside my apartment.
Yeah. And to make plans, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I have an idea.
Sure.
Something along the lines of grace under pressure, grace during difficult times, you know, out in the world.
Okay, kind of resilience, grace.
Grace that you receive from other people, grace that
Oh,
you're able to observe or practice in.
Okay. That's a good idea. Okay, well, we'll work up a theme, and well, I've got everybody's email, and maybe we'll give it, you know, obviously finals is next week. Let's give it maybe a month, and we'll look at maybe mid-June and just try it and see what happens, if that's okay. And if you have thoughts in the meantime, just let me know. Let one of our library staff know.
Isn't that summer solstice almost, too?
Oh, it could be. Oh, okay.
Summer solstice.
Well, maybe
June
we'll have multiple topics. I'll kind of just go drifting. Okay, Lori, I'll give it back to you and see if there's anything else we want to hear or call it a day.
Yeah, unless anyone would like to get one last poem in, I think we can call it a day. Thank you all so much for being here. It was another transcendent experience for me.
I'm going to stop the recording, so.
Okay.
All right.